We're gonna do a little foam rundown. I haven't done any foam rundowns in a long time, so I'm rusty. We're gonna see how it goes. The two major foams that you need to know is open cell foam versus closed cell foam. Open cell foam, like the name says, is the cells in it are open. If you threw this into a lake, it would absorb water and it would sink to the bottom. Closed cell foam is the opposite. It will float. A lot of your boat key little floaties, are attached to the boat keys. So if you lose your keys in a lake, they don't sink to the bottom. In general, the open cell foams are softer and more cushy. This is better for a restaurant application. The closed cell foams are more dense, more durable, and something that you would want to use in a health club. However, closed cell foam is pretty expensive. About, if I had to guess, I'd say 3 or 4 times more expensive than open cell foam. And it's also hard to find. We had a really good supplier in Washington. There's nowhere in Arizona that pours or manufactures this foam, so we have to get it shipped in from Washington. We used to use this. This is R427. This is about $5 a board foot, I want to say. We started switching over to this Y20. It's a little less expensive, just as dense. This might be more like $2 or $3 a board foot. And a board foot is 12 inches by 12 inches by 1 inch thick. So this is 1.5 inches thickness right here. This here I think is about 1/4 inch. This open cell foam here is a 1 inch foam. I don't remember exactly why we have it. Typically when I'm gonna refoam a booth in a restaurant, I prefer 1.5 inch thickness. It's my favorite thing to put on like a set of no sag springs. If it's going to be a flat piece of wood, you probably really need more like a 3 inches, the most common foam size. I have been seeing a lot of 1 inch foam on booths lately, and this is 2785, which is the thickest or the most dense foam that our supplier gives. So since we're buying the highest quality foam, we can get away with this 1 inch product. And that'll bring us to the area I'm a little bit rusty. Most foams, open cell foams, have a four-digit part number, and the first part number, if I'm not mistaken, this is 2.5 pounds per board foot. So this has to do with how dense the foam is, and then this number here, the second number, is the ILD, which I don't remember what it stands for, but it has to do with the rebound on the foam. So the bigger the number for us, the better the quality of foam. We're using that 2785, so it has a strong rebound, and we'll wait for the instructions with that. And it has the most quality product built into it. Our foam supplier gives us these samples. Most foam samples come in a 4 inch thickness. It's not very convenient to give to our customers because they're squeezing a 4 inch piece of foam and we're going to be using 1 inch. But at least they get something in their hands. This is a lesser quality foam they gave us. I don't know, we don't really need that. But so open cell foam will be for restaurants, closed cell foam for health clubs. Now when you do a restaurant booth, if you got this piece of foam on the booth like this edge here will like telegraph through the vinyl and you'll be able to see it. So we put this thin layer of Dacron on top of it. This hides any edges of the foam and gives you a more quality product, finished product like that. This stuff comes in 1 inch. This is 1 ounce. This here is 1/2 ounce. I like the 1/2 ounce. It's the thinnest you can get. It's easier to pull and fold. It doesn't get bunched up. You can still see a nice edge on here. If you had a 1 ounce, this will almost be curved totally. And a lot of people talk about how, oh, it's nice, it adds some extra cushion to it. I think that's a bunch of BS. It flattens out pretty quick. This is a replacement for cotton. Back in the day, they always used cotton for this. This stuff can be torn if you don't want an edge to show through the vinyl. So you also use this if you got like a pad you're upholstering and you got a baggy edge where the vinyl doesn't lay against the foam. You can push this Dacron up in there to kind of fill out a corner. So Dacron is really just for aesthetics, in my opinion. We don't use that to refoam things. This here is scrim foam, kind of a similar concept. It's more of a topper. It definitely does have some cushion to it compared to the Dacron, but I'll show you this other foam we got in the shop. It's called Rebond. It's like a carpet matting. Recycled foam gets chopped up and then they glue it together, hence the name Rebond. They're rebonding the particles and they sell it. Now, a carpet mat might only be about 1/2 inch thick, but you can get it in 3-inch, 1.5 inch, and it's very inexpensive. It's only $1 per board foot. So in Arizona, since the closed cell isn't available and it's extremely expensive, for a while we started upholstering or refoaming flat benches in the Rebond since it's affordable and readily available. However, let's go take a look at it. What'll happen is, as time wears on and the vinyl sits on top of this Rebond foam, these little particles down here, some of them are more dense than others. So some will compress and some won't, and it'll leave the vinyl looking all bumpy. So that's what we have the scrim foam for. You can put a layer of scrim foam on top of this and then the vinyl, and then these little bumps won't show through. You can also use the Dacron for that. And then oftentimes too, I've used a thin layer of closed cell R427 to go on top of this. That actually works pretty well. But the problem with this is I've done a couple of utility benches and even some seated calf raised knee pads, and I come back 3 months later and the knee pad has got a curve in it, or the utility bench seat has dips where the butt cheeks go. So I'm not really happy with this product. We have it obviously here, but I don't think we'll be purchasing too much more of it. We'll see how time goes. The only last thing I can tell you about the foam is how to charge for it. We'll go back to the shop for this. I think we have a little bit of a demonstration. Okay, here we go. So as soon as I get this, and this is getting kind of anal and a little bit over-organized sometimes, but when I'm out in the field, I don't want to have to take the time to stop to figure this out. Since it's sold by the board foot in our QuickBooks file, we have a price per board foot for this stuff. So when I get it, I set out my straight edge and mark 12 inches and 12 inches, and I come up with these little squares. So if we're going to do a 4 foot, or if we're going to do a huge decline bench, you know, and we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 board feet, if you're going to cut into that board foot, you need to charge for it. If you mark it out previous to cutting, it's easier to figure out what to charge the customer for. On the flip side, when you get to something like this, it's 1.5 inches, you have to take and do the calculations out in the field. So you'll have to say, let's say it's a flat bench, and it's, let's say it's 1 foot wide, which they most of the time they are, and then 4 feet long, and then you got 1.5 inches thickness. So what you would do is you go 4 times 1.5 times, well, in this case only 1, and that will equal your board foot. So then you charge by the board foot. And that's pretty much it. You should always have some open cells stocked in the truck. I would say at least 1 yard, maybe 2 yards. You never know when you're going to run into a 4-top booth that needs foam. You should always have enough open cell foam to do at least a flat bench in the truck. You should always have 1 yard of scrim foam in the truck and 1 yard of Dacron in the truck. And whoever the shop manager is should have at least a full roll of Dacron and at least 5 or 6 yards in the shop. That way when guys run out, they can replenish the stock. So that's the foam rundown for today.